Hello there and good morning. As ever, it's one rule for the rich and powerful and another rule for the rest of us. As per usual, please like, subscribe and comment below. And when subscribing, please do press that little bell, but also select the all option, or you won't get any notifications when I publish a new video. Well, we should all have seen that one coming. Council tax is set to rise by 9% next year and 25% over the next 3 years, while the rich and powerful secretly hide their wealth from the taxman offshore. Some people screamed that the social care system needed to be changed to prevent those with wealth and houses having to lose their property to pay for their social care. They got their way, and taxes inevitably start rising for everyone. And the real kicker is that those obscenely wealthy people that many people thought might be forking out a bit more in tax still get to exploit the loopholes so readily put and kept in place by their politician chums that allow them to keep their dosh secure from the revenue man in offshore tax havens. Just in case there was any doubt that we, the vulgar and profane, are held in utter contempt by our overlords, along comes the revelation that those who make the decisions to tax us more will be paying less tax because they are our superiors, and we, the masses, must adhere to their morals and dogma. Yes, the Times reports that UK ministers are looking at allowing council tax to be increased by some 9% next year in order to fund social care costs. And at the same time, out come the 12 million leaked Pandora Papers that show how 300 present and former world leaders, politicians and billionaires keep their wealth out of the reach of the taxman, including how one former UK Prime Minister, Tony Blair, and his missus managed to get out of paying stamp duty on a big house. Remember, ordinary law-abiding citizens and their cash are easily parted, so you must keep paying for the rights of the rich and powerful to not pay tax. Now, what these wealthy people have done may not be illegal, but it really shows how our politicians are miserably failing to keep the playing field level. So bear that in mind when that extra heavy council tax bill hits your doormat for social care costs, and you pay extra on your energy bill to fund green energy, while those of the filthy rich just smile at the cameras and board their private jets for more worldwide travel to their multiple big homes straddling the planet. Here's what the Mail said. While many of the transactions leaked in the papers made by tens of thousands of different offshore firms feature no legal wrongdoing, they expose how the UK government has failed in its promise to bring in a register of offshore property owners. There are concerns that some of the purchases could be the work of money laundering, while some of those named now face allegations of corruption and global tax avoidance. And one of them, the Czech Prime Minister Andrej Babiš, faces an election next week. Let's see how he fares now that this has all emerged. But for the little people like you and me, we face the prospect of another hike in taxes. According to reports, our local authorities need an extra 2.6 billion quid next year to fund the increasing social care going forwards. And they say they've already been hit financially by the pandemic. And to raise all this money, council tax would have to rise in April by 9%. Now, the rules at present say that a local referendum is needed to increase council tax by more than 2% plus 3% for social care. So the government is looking at waiving that rule next year, i.e., you don't get a say in it. The other option is for the government to borrow even more money centrally, add it to the now over £2 trillion debt pile and hand it over to councils for social care. then we all pay interest on it via our taxes. Either way, the general ordinary pay-as-you-earn taxpayer will be picking up the bill. Did you really think the burden would be truly shared out fairly? Oh, bless. But it seems that the last thing society wants right now is fairness. But will all these tax rises be enough? But before I get into that, I just want to say a massive thank you to all my Super Thanks, Patreon and PayPal supporters, as well as those that do buy a mug with my mug on it. Links in the descriptions box below. You really do help me keep this channel going. But this tax situation just gets worse. The huge council tax rises for next year could well happen every year for the next 3 years, as the true bill for social care will need a council tax rise of 25% over the next 3 years to raise the 8 billion quid required. And remember that a rise in national insurance contributions is already baked in next year. And don't be fooled by the 1.25% number being bandied about. It's not a rise of 1.25% that you'll be paying. The standard rate of NICs is 12%, and that's being added to by 1.25% extra to 13.25%. That's actually a whopping rise of 10.4%, not 1.25%. And you still think the Tories are the party of low taxation? No. If these eye-watering council tax hikes occur over the next 3 years, Boris will be going into the next election on the back of nearly 5 years of tax and spend. Especially given his comment at the start of the Conservative Party conference over the weekend, where he said he wouldn't be raising taxes if he could possibly avoid it. And remember, this is all about paying for stuff, not getting the nation's borrowing and debt burden under control. And the more you borrow now, the more you pay in interest later when the Bank of England raises interest rates, which they will as the recovery starts and inflation rises. And all this has obviously worried the Tory bigwigs, with the chairman of the party's backbench 1922 committee, Sir Graham Brady, saying that the government must put together a plan for lowering taxes well before the next election, because allowing people to keep more of their own money is a natural Conservative instinct, he said. Well, maybe not anymore. And the leader of the House of Commons, Jacob Rees-Mogg, said that tax rises had hit the limit, with the overall burden on the downtrodden taxpayer now being at a 70-year high. Well, I suppose someone's got to pay for the likes of that £37 billion failed COVID track and trace thing. After all, I doubt the money will ever be recovered from wherever it went. Then there's all that money paid to the most unlikely of recipients for unusable COVID PPE. Someone has to pay. That someone is us. As far as I'm concerned, trickle down from the wealthy to the poor does not exist, or at least none's ever come my way. Don't know about you though. But trickle up does exist, and that has increased markedly during the pandemic. Now I know that mistakes were made in a legitimate rush right at the start of this pandemic, but many of the money-draining activities did seem to persist for far too long. And I am also aware that taxing the wealthy hard doesn't usually raise that much tax, but at least make the effort to make it look fair, otherwise it makes it look as if the joke is permanently on the rest of us. Especially as people relearn the important lesson that footballers, entertainers, politicians and the hideously rich are nowhere near as important to their everyday lives as the driver, for example, who delivers food or petrol to their local outlet is. But the government, as ever, is relying on you to forget all this and just carry on. So what's your opinion on you personally paying more in tax? Please like and comment below.